It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we come to you live from Talking Points headquarters deep in the heart of Texas. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing good, and it looks like Kamaga is moving forward.
All right, good.
If you weren't listening at the last part of the show yesterday, Eric and I started, discussing the fact that when you look at everything that's going on right now in the both campaigns, Donald Trump on the issues is a uniter.
Yeah.
He is an absolute uniter. Why? Because the Harris campaign is now agreeing on unifying issues that Trump has brought to the forefront, and we have encouraged the Trump campaign and others in the media, conservative media, to start promoting the term Kamaga.
And also the Red Eye Nation. I don't know if we can use that word, Red Eye Nation. I don't know if it constitutes a nation. With a handful of people that listen, we expect you
Groupies.
to take groupies. That's right. Well, there goes our chances of having it reposted. They just called me a groupie? We lined it out clearly. Listen, as everyone knows, I'm going to do a KJP here. As everyone knows, Gary and I are all about unity. I didn't even read that from a book, y'all. We're all about bringing the country together. We stand. Red eye is an old Scottish term that means common ground. People don't know this, but it's true. Don't look it up. Stop Googling. It's.
Oh, I just
we had this search.
Well, I just Googled and what a wonderful Kamala story here. I'm sorry, that's an ad. Okay.
Yeah,
continue.
Yeah,
I'm
be
sorry.
careful with those headlines.
Yeah, continue.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, seriously, they stole from what scammers do. Scammers do that. I know we're going to get into that later, but it's just, that's reprehensible. But we, after, we were on it for a few segments at least, talking about the No Labels Party, as we call them, the No Backbone Party, and then we did the whole unity thing, and then we got into, because there was in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, you came across something that someone had pitched. It turns out it was a letter to the editor or something like that suggested a ticket that included Michelle Obama and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Yes, that Texas Governor Greg Abbott and that Michelle Obama as being on the same ticket. And after we stopped laughing, we broke it down in the whole unity thing, and then we
got to No Labels.
Yeah, we got to the No Labels thing, and then we kind of segued naturally into it was, the clouds opened up and the whole thing. And we had this epiphany that there is a great uniter. There is a way to bring people together, that you see it right now. There is proof of it. It is official from her campaign on major pro-Trump MAGA agenda items. Kamala Harris now agrees. Imagine that in just a few short weeks, Donald Trump has brought Kamala Harris and her campaign over to his way of thinking. She agrees with his agenda items on the border. Now on the taxes for tips and a number of items that the poll that showed she would be stronger on the economy, or more people believe she would be stronger on the economy. All of these things that pro-fracking, these are major
Right.
core tenets of the pro-Trump MAGA movement, and it takes a great convincer. It takes someone who has the ability to unite people, and clearly that skill is almost exclusive to Donald J. Trump.
Right, because our point was these are such unifying issues with the American public because they're landslide numbers that Kamala Harris has now said the way that I can win is to embrace the pro-Trump MAGA movement on the issues. So because Trump came up with all these great ideas, Kamala Harris, and not just, Kamala Harris, not only did she pick it up, but the other unifying aspect of this is, as we put in the post yesterday on X, if you want to check it out, because we a lot of response to it.
Yeah.
There is no Democrat that is complaining that Kamala has become Kamaga.
Right.
Nobody's complaining on the Democrat side.
No.
Everybody agrees on the Democrat side because nobody's complaining. I haven't heard anyone complain. Now, I will say that there may be a little bit of a problem because the White House came out yesterday and said, well, no. Harris agrees completely with Biden on the border.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to destroy that is the fact that Biden's going to go, she's talking about stuff that we don't agree with. And you saw now they're going to drop Medicare for all.
Right.
They're going to drop Medicare for all. I mean, so I have not heard one Democrat in Congress complain that Kamala has become Kamaga.
No, I haven't heard that.
Right.
I haven't heard anyone in what's left of the squad say that.
No.
The remnants of the squad.
Well, Lamar is still in.
She won with no problem, yeah.
Well, but look at this. I want to play this here because this is Fox News yesterday, all right? Because I started paying attention saying, is anybody picking up on now they haven't used the term Kamaga yet.
Right.
And we believe they should.
Yeah.
But here is Fox News yesterday, okay?
All right.
Here we go. All right.
But you cannot win a presidential campaign if you do not have a strategy. But Kamala's finally got one. Immolate Trump. Here's how Kamala has been rolling into her recent tarmac rallies. Look at this. That looks a lot like the dozens and dozens of Trump tarmac rallies that the former president did in 2020. It's getting so bad that even CNN is noticing with this headline, Harris leans on the trappings of her office and Trump's own playbook in a quest to win the White House. But it's not just optics. Kamala isn't just stealing Trump's choreography. She's stealing his ideas, too. After 4 years of letting in millions of illegals, Kamala's new ad would have you believe that she is the second coming of Donald Trump.
And she goes on to talk about the issues. And then I went to, this is Noah Rothman, how to make the flip-flop charge stick to Harris.
Yeah.
The GOP's goal shouldn't be to outbid Harris, but to demonstrate that she's trying to approximate what Republicans are already bringing to the table.
Yes.
Kamaga.
That's right.
We need to promote Kamaga.
Kamaga. Hashtag Kamaga.
And we complimented Kamaga and the Democrats.
Yes.
Because from what we know, every single Democrat agrees. Because I've not heard one complaint. Have you received? Now, we spent an hour on this yesterday. I didn't get any response from any Democrat.
No.
Email, whatever, saying
No.
we object to what Kamala Harris is doing.
No, we didn't. No, we haven't
Excuse
heard
me.
that.
Kamaga Harris.
Yeah.
Kamaga Harris is doing.
Right.
Not one. They all agree with it.
Right.
Trump, and this is all because of Trump.
Right.
These are issues that Trump has brought to the table. Trump is the great unifier. He is unifying this country together. Kamaga, formerly known, the presidential candidate formerly known as Kamala,
Yeah.
and the Democrats are not complaining at all. They're all behind the MAGA movement.
Right.
Democrats, it's good, and you know, maybe that's why they're in a celebratory mood. Is that why they're in the celebratory mood? Because they're like, wow, we really needed somebody like Kamaga. We needed Kamaga to be up there.
Maybe it is.
You know, it's
Maybe
about
that's what's
time.
going on.
You know, you and I, because someone said, someone I know on radio was listening and go, that was a great bit. How did you come up with it? And I said, we didn't come up with any. That wasn't it happened organically, and we started talking about the Unity Party, and all of a sudden, I don't even know which one of us said, oh, wow, wait a minute. She's embracing everything. She's now embracing everything. The major tenets of what Trump believes, she now is embracing. And it's like, wow, well, Trump is unifying the country. We don't need a no-labels party.
Right.
That's how we got there, because remember, the Unity ticket.
Right, yes. Well, I hear she's trying to have one of the office buildings in New York City renamed Harris Tower. I mean, it's getting ridiculous.
Well, rumor is Trump's going to drop Vance and put her in.
It could happen. Listen, it could happen.
So we're going to continue the Kamaga movement here.
That's right.
On the show,
yes,
because we think it's very important to do so.
Yes,
and
it's what so many Americans wanted. I mean, listen, the overwhelming response and following that the No Labels Party got was clear. You know, there were so many tens of billions of Americans that were all in with the No Labels Party. It's clear that America wants this.
We didn't need it. All we needed was Trump.
Yeah.
Democrats? Well, by the way, I'm not saying it. This is what Kamala is saying, and this is because no Democrat has complained at all.
Right.
So the Democratic Party has become the MAGA party.
Right.
Now, Biden may not have become the MAGA party, but everybody else is totally behind Kamala Harris. Just to let you know what we wrote yesterday, Donald Trump has united the nation. Even Kamala Harris now agrees with the pro-Trump MAGA agenda. Donald Trump is pro-fracking. Harris campaign agrees. Donald Trump is pro-secure border. Harris campaign agrees. Donald Trump wants no taxes on tips. Harris campaign agrees. Kamala Harris has embraced the major unifying issues of the pro-Trump MAGA movement. Congrats to Kamala and all the Democrats. Donald Trump, the great uniter. Hashtag Kamaga. And if you want to check that out, it's at Gary Red Eye 1 and also at...
and I reposted it.
You reposted it, yes.
Yeah, at Eric Harley. Yep. And so you can... And look, it's... you need to spread the word, because so many people right now, I think, are up in the air because they really want to unite America. And it's happened. It's already happened. We just need to open their eyes and show them that it's already happened. It's happening right now.
Well, she's seen it.
Yeah.
Harris has seen it.
Right.
Kamaga has seen it.
Right. And nobody is really denying it.
No, nobody's denying
it.
That she has become Kamaga.
Nobody. I haven't heard one person deny that she's become Kamaga. I have not heard one person deny that she's become Kamaga.
No, we haven't received it.
No.
And we did get a couple that's and I had to straighten them out with what you said. We had a couple of people that came out and said, she's lying. And I had to say, look, Eric addressed that on yesterday's show.
Yeah. How dare you?
If you're accusing Kamaga of lying about this, if she truly doesn't mean it, then you're a racist and a misogynist.
That's right. How dare you? You need to change your ways. You need to embrace the truth. The truth is we are seeing unity in America for the first time in a long, long time. Right. We're seeing it right before our eyes.
And it's
Where's
not
the patriotic music that I paid for?
And it's not imagery.
Yeah.
It's on the substance of the issues
that
Kamaga agrees with Donald Trump.
Exactly.
And Democrats agree with Donald Trump now because no one is objecting.
Yeah.
There's not a Democrat that has objected to the new Kamaga movement.
No.
Forget about Project 2025. The new movement is the Kamaga movement.
That's right. Kamaga, Project 2024. It's happening right now. It's here. It's here.
All right, I like that. All right. Kamaga Project 2024 is here. And you're asking, what is Kamaga Project 2024? It's endorsing the beliefs of Trump and the Republicans.
Yes. For the first time, I'm proud of my nation. To be clear, that was something we borrowed from the aforementioned Obama, Michelle Obama. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, this.
To be clear, that was a joke.
And okay, now the entire point of yes, we're enjoying this. The entire point is, as Noah Rothman has puts out how to make the flip-flop charge stick to Harris. That's how you do it.
Yep.
That's how you do it. You come up with something like that, and that's the only reason that we want it. And thanks for all of our listeners for retweeting it. We normally don't do stuff like this, but when we believe that the campaign needs a little bit of direction,
right,
we're always willing to help. Hey, we've given advice to Democrats. They never listen, though.
Right. I'll tell you this. If you see on the tarmac, if you see an order from McDonald's being delivered to Air Force 2, it's over. It's over. There's no way you can deny it at that point.
We have a great show ahead.
We do.
As we talk about the unity in this country because of Kamaga Project 2024.
It's real. It's happening right now.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Keep your engine humming in the heat this summer by keeping up with preventive maintenance. Think your PM is complete after your oil is changed? Think again. There's grease, transmission fluids, and gear oil to consider too. Grease, for example, is made of oil, thickener, and additives. It provides rust protection by preventing water spray-off and wash-off on equipment like the universal joint, fifth wheel, and clutch throwout bearings. It also helps protect major greasing points like tie rod ends, spring pin bushings, kingpin, and the chassis. Today's synthetic oils means more miles between engine oil changes, but greasing intervals aren't growing at the same pace. Your fifth wheel, for example, needs to be greased every 15,000 miles or monthly.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, man, we got some great audio coming up following the bottom of the hour. I don't know if you haven't heard what happened on with Stephen Colbert yesterday.
Oh, man.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Just greatness. You'll want to hear it. We'll play right after the bottom of the hour. Plus, CNN. Wow. Did you see how they edited? There's nothing. They had nothing. By the way, I thought I've listened not to the entire 3 hours, but I've listened to portions of the Musk Trump thing. It was fine. It's like having just a discussion.
Right.
It was great. It was like it's a friendly supporter. Well, yeah, but Harris won't even do that.
Right.
She won't even speak with the friendly media. So you don't have a point. At the end of the day, and that's what we look at. At the end of the day, there was nothing that stuck to Trump at all.
Right.
And the only thing that really stuck was the altering of the actual conversation that they were having to make a point that neither Musk or Trump were making.
Right.
Links to everything Red Eye on the website redeyeradioshow.com.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose if you can't listen live overnight. All right, this happened on Stephen Colbert's show the other day. Are you ready? He had CNN's Caitlin Collins on, and of course, they were talking about the race. So here we go.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. Oh, I know. CNN makes a... I know.
Was that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is. What?
There you go.
All right. So there's so much going on with that right there, is that this is a very liberal New York City Stephen Colbert audience, probably some holdovers from his time at the Daily Show in there, and they didn't have to be prompted to laugh. They didn't have to be told to laugh. And what you hear, the difference between the people in the audience and Stephen Colbert, is the fact that Stephen Colbert actually thought, and he admitted, he said it wasn't supposed to be funny. He thought in his mind he could still sell this to his audience, his very liberal audience, who's been loyal and liberal all the way to the end, up to the point that you try and float something so stupid it's laughable, and it literally fell out with the audience. That's the difference. Their mindset. People, we talked about this recently, about people and what they know and whether they live in the bubble of today. There are certain things you can get by a number of people. There are a number of people out there that are willfully ignorant if you get into the actual facts about things or issues and things like that. When you float a ridiculous idea like that, even in front of a very liberal audience, it is laughable, and they couldn't hold it in. And that's the difference, is, that right there is I think, an example of what's going on with the liberal media and their lies of now, and going back to what they were doing, been doing for a long, long time. Do they really believe they can sell that? Well, Stephen Colbert in that moment believed his audience was going to go right along with him. And they put the brakes on it with laughter. There's the thing. Brian Regan said at one time, and comedians in cars getting coffee, he's talking to Jerry about people who write, and their critics. They write about comedy shows and everything else. And it's like, both of them were in agreement, Jerry and Brian Regan. Look, the consensus is already in. I said something and they laughed. The audience has already laughed at it, doing a critiquing me and tearing it apart after the fact. The audience is going to laugh. It's going to happen. There is a consensus, and what you just heard there was a consensus, and it was the alternative to screaming the word BS.
Yeah.
It really was.
Well, I think you make a great point when it shows that how clueless Colbert is, the bubble that he is in, the lack of self-awareness about where the public is going today, even his audience. And you bring a good point. Republicans don't make an effort to go see Colbert.
Right.
They don't. These are people that relate to his liberal politics. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, if you want to know whether people in this country really know what's going on, that's an indication right there. Now, they may be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the interesting thing is that laugh was a huge laugh, like, we can't hold this in.
Well, and
stop. We know what we're doing, but don't BS.
Yeah.
That the media, that CNN isn't biased.
Well, and
stop that.
There are certain pops that you get from an audience if you're a comedian, and you just watch any stand-up comedian, And when they're on a roll, you'll hear people, I mean, they're screaming, they're laughing so much. What you heard there was a collective dismissal of the point he had just made by his own audience. And it's a different tone. It almost has its own inflection. The collective laughter here has its own inflection, like, yeah, right. That's what you heard. That's that kind of laughter.
Mocking.
Yes. And you get it with like self-deprecating jokes or, things like that. It's when you say something of a ridiculous, the tone of the laughter, the tone of the room, you can actually tell the emotion of the audience through their collective laughter. And that was complete dismissal and rejection of what he just said. And that's a problem. It's not a problem for Colbert. I mean, it doesn't matter. Laughter is laughter, right? You take it wherever you can get it. But it is indicative of what is going on with the left and also the liberal media groups right now, who also have that mindset that, no, we can float this to our audience. The thing is they can't. They think they can edit things. They think they can put things out there and not get fact-checked by their own side. The difference is...
He got fact-checked by the audience.
He got fact-checked immediately by the audience.
I will say this, though. I do think that it did bother him. Because
you could hear it.
Because he is... there's an ego that my audience agrees with me, and I can sell them.
Yeah,
I can sell them crap, and they'll buy it.
Yeah,
and when they don't, because that almost to me, there's a time when laughter is a reaction to the fact that what you said was funny.
Right.
Then there's laughter that is mocking you.
Right.
And
it's a dismissal or rejection of what you just said.
Right. And so he lives in such the bubble of today, but there's an arrogance that, as we said before, liberals believe that the people that support them or vote for them are idiots.
Right. Right.
He just found out that a lot of them are not.
Well, and here's the thing, too. When you're in that scenario and you're watching someone like Colbert, if you're there live, I've never been to a live taping, but if you go to a comedy show, but it's the audience is trained. The audience is waiting for certain lines to be delivered by him with certain inflections and a certain cadence, the timing. And that's the case for any comedian. And it was the case for his predecessor, David Letterman, and late night comedians. And they all have their own cadence. They all have their own timing. With Letterman, it was dry. He became angrier toward the end of his reign there at CBS. But at one time, he was the king of that dry humor, and he made it work. His audience is trained. In their mind, initially, where they went was, he just said something so ridiculous, it has to be a joke.
Because there was no cue to laugh at that.
Right.
That was a serious moment.
There's no sign that says laughter.
Right. Great point.
It wasn't, like an applause sign or anything. It is, the cue was how he delivered it, and the content of what he delivered, the audience assessed as a joke because he couldn't possibly be serious.
Right. And he was.
He just said it. He told you.
Because the entire point is, you're credible with your criticism towards Trump.
Right.
You've got credibility because you're CNN.
Right.
And we know that CNN is just the facts, ma'am.
Right.
Which it's like, the audience wasn't even going to buy it.
Right. He floated something, and this is the thing. When you float something like that in a serious way, yet you want to come off as serious, as a valid point. He didn't break it down. You could have reapproached it and said, or just approached it this way and said, listen, you get a lot of criticism. A lot of people criticize you guys for being biased and being this and being that. What is the process like, or something like that? You could have approached it a different way, but it's the arrogance in Stephen Colbert that drives him to just throw out that he's going to carry the liberal media flag and water at the same time, and he's marching on, yet his audience didn't go with him. They thought it was funny. He must be joking.
This is so many ways to break this down, just to short. And there's more to break down in that clip that have nothing to do with what Colbert said, but what she actually said that we'll get to that just is totally identity politics, which is how they think, not how Republicans think. And we'll get to that here in just a couple of moments and replay that, the exact part that we want to play for you. But the fact is, Colbert was saying that because he wanted this discussion to be viewed as a serious discussion on the issues.
Right.
He wasn't saying it in a joking manner at all.
Right.
He said that because he is trying to set the table that what we talk about here is all credible.
Right. No, that's
why
the turn he's made with the Late Show at CBS. He is on a rant. He is on a mission. He does this. Kimmel tries to go on rants, which I think is laughable for a different reason. It is a different tone. The original Letterman, I'll phrase it that way. The original Letterman would say, if you're offended by anything I say in my jokes, then just get in line, because at some point he actually said this, and I don't know if this is verbatim. It's pretty close. At some point, I'm going to offend everyone. And that's the approach he took. Everything for the laugh, everything for the bit. Colbert sees this as, I've got to re-educate the people. I've got to turn this into a serious talk show. He wants this to be, speaking of laughable, something you would see on MSNBC. He wants this to be, in those moments, he wants this to be a serious forum for talking political issues. Keep in mind, the entire intent of late-night talk shows going back decades and decades was, hey, all right, the day's over, kids are in bed. Before you retire for the evening, a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of laughter, you can erase the day. But for him, it's, no, we're going to have a late-night talk show on the issues, and he quite often goes very, very serious, and that was one of those attempts that failed drastically because of that arrogance, because he thinks the audience was going to go along with him. This is what I believe in the sensibilities of the American people and voter. It doesn't mean that everybody's becoming more conservative. It doesn't mean that things are necessarily going to change in a big way with elections. We'll see that when the election gets here. But it does mean that people are very in tune. You can't carry a computer in your hand all day, every day, without being a little more in tune every day with what's going on and the tone of what's going on. Glenn Kessler's job at the Washington Post as the fact checker is irrelevant now. I don't care how many Pinocchios you want to bring up, but people do their own fact checking. What they buy into, what they believe, that's going to vary. There are still plenty of people out there that also are willfully ignorant. But the sensibilities change because of the flow of information. We're bombarded with this information every day, and there's no way that it won't change the sensibilities of a society, and it's happened.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll continue on that audio cut from Colbert, because one other thing we wanted to bring up about what Caitlin Collins said about why Trump is confused, which is completely ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's all about identity politics for them. It's not for Republicans, and it's not for Trump.
Right.
And so we'll get into that coming up in a little bit, because that seems to be a narrative now.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't know where to go. And I'm like, well, if you said that a week ago or 2 weeks ago, when she was flip-flopping on everything that she's ever believed, yeah, there was probably a momentary pause, but the campaign has been effective in their spots.
Yeah.
And they're effective because J.D. Vance last week was just killing it.
Well, that's it. I mean, she's had to defend her VP pick. She hasn't actually, but the surrogates out there for her, the liberal media, are working to put out that dumpster fire of a VP pick. And over on the Trump side, J.D. Vance is shutting down the media left and right and helping to build a consensus, not only for his own credibility and worth in the campaign, but also for what the Trump campaign overall believes.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
One more thing I wanted to play from that Stephen Colbert interview with Caitlin Collins, where he, where in case you just tuned in right now, we had played. Well, I'll play the whole thing here, but I just want to let's play the first part of it because I want to address that, and then for people that might not have heard it, we'll play the rest. But here we go. Okay.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
Okay, we keep it there. What did she say Trump's problem is there? Everything that is the problem of Democrats and liberals and people like her, obsessed with identity politics.
Right.
You know, they tried that last week, remember? You saw it all over social media. Trump is old, Trump is old, Trump is old.
Right.
Didn't stick.
No.
Why didn't it stick? Because it's not an age issue. It's a cognitive ability issue.
It wasn't an age issue with Joe Biden. I will say this. Joe Biden, I've said it before, Joe Biden's a very old 81.
Yeah, he is.
And this is something, and you and I both have, both very grateful to have fathers in their 90s. And we see that. My dad's not going to run any marathons, although I called him he called me the other day because he was taking a break from mowing the lawn in Texas in the middle of the day. It is a riding mower, but he was out there working, and your dad's always busy and everything else, but their mind keeps going. My dad and I, again, and we often do this, have these, we don't always have the opportunity, but when we do, it turns into an hour-and-a-half talk show. And we're just going back and forth on the issues and everything else. It is the Trump thing. Trump has really not aged at all since he officially jumped in 2016, which is pretty remarkable. Now, if you got close up on the camera and then you did a side by side, you'd see signs of aging. But in terms of his stature, in terms of his demeanor, and his presence and how he walks and everything else, the guy hasn't really slowed down. Again, he was never a speed racer, and you probably couldn't ever call him athletic, but he was consistently, his energy has been consistent since he first jumped in. Could that change? It might, but it hasn't. And when you try and throw this label at him that he's old, because the Democrats all of a sudden have someone who is much younger on their ticket, it's not going to stick because people see it and say, he's the same Trump from 2016, not just 2020.
And if you saw the golf video that he had about 3 weeks ago, you can see he's fine physically.
Right.
Because a couple times he whacked the ball.
Yeah.
He hit it hard. And to golf, you've got to have some pretty good hand-eye coordination.
Exactly.
And age is the thing that takes that away from you most of the time.
Right.
And no, I haven't mentioned golf lately because I won't start practicing for another month.
Okay.
But the Caitlin Collins there, understand this is how they think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Trump's having problems because she's younger, she's a woman, and she's black, and he doesn't know how to define her. Well, all you need to do is what the campaign has done is define her on the issues or define her on the flip-flops.
Right.
That's all. That's all you need to do. You stick to the issues. We've talked about that. Trump is more disciplined now than he was in 2016 and 2020.
Yeah.
As I've said before, I nitpick all the time because I want the campaign to be 100% on target 100% of the time.
Well, and we also, we do believe there is a new approach. We'll see if the former president uses it. And that is to compliment Kamala Harris for embracing the pro-Trump MAGA agenda, which she has on major core issues. And that is to be complimented. It's not everyone who admits they were wrong. Barry Weiss admitted she was wrong about Trump, and she's a very capable person. Michael Rappaport, the actor, who was great in Copland, he was once an angry liberal, and now he's come around and said, look, I was wrong, and I didn't do my homework, and now I have.
Now he's an angry Trump supporter.
Now he's an angry Trump supporter because he's angry at liberals. And so for her to come around isn't totally shocking. In fact, we think it's refreshing, and it clearly lines out why Trump is a uniter.
And as we said, the campaign, when she started flip-flopping, it's like, okay, what do we do? But Trump has always had moments where we have said, he had worse moments in 2020 and 2016. He's actually been much more disciplined over the last 6 months of campaigning. Yeah, as I said, I nitpick, and so if he's not on target, I'll hit him for it because I don't want to see it to continue.
Right.
And I thought the Elon Musk thing last night was great. I thought it was very conversational.
Yeah.
I thought they hit some good points. And when you see what the criticisms of the left were of the Elon Musk interview, what was it? Number one, that he was slurring. And in the one that I forgot who put it out, the one yesterday on social media, I didn't even hear a slur. But then what they were saying slurring was obviously, because you and I have been in the business for a long time and we know what it is, was actually the phasing in and phasing out of the digital signal that was coming in. And that's why they came out and they put, okay, here's the actual telephone conversation before it got into all the computer stuff.
Right.
But you can get phasing, you get all different noises that happen. And that's what happened. And his voice did sound different at times. And so they immediately, the left said, see, he's slurring. And he wasn't slurring at all. And that's why but that's it. And the other thing that they thought would stick, and it's going to come back, and I haven't seen Dana Bash apologize for what CNN did. We'll play the audio coming up in a little bit, and you'll be able to hear clearly how they changed how they selectively edited the audio to make it seem like that he said something or they said something that they actually didn't say.
Right.
That the purpose of what they were talking about was nuclear energy. It wasn't about the fact that dropping the atomic bomb wasn't a bad thing.
Right.
Didn't have bad consequences.
Right.
Because as we know, it had really good consequences. It saved a ton of Allied lives, but it's something that happened in war, that things that happen in war are horrible.
Right.
And they were trying to make it sound like, oh, they didn't think it was horrible.
Right.
And that wasn't even the context of what they were. But they selectively edited the audio to get there. But for Caitlin Collins, it gets back to what we've always said. Democrats, through identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not individuals, they are the racists. The reason that that's the first thing that Caitlin Collins says is because she's obsessed with identity.
Yep.
She's obsessed by gender. She's obsessed by skin color.
Yep.
And that's why we have said before, when you look at the left and the fact that they're for reparations, it's because they feel guilty for their racism. They're the racists. That's why they talk the way that they talk. That's why they view everything through a racial and gender prism.
It is true, and what it really reeks of is 2008, and then into 2009 and 2010, when late night comedians were saying, "Well, we don't make any Obama jokes because there's really nothing funny. There's nothing to laugh at."
Oh my God!
I mean, this is where they're going. They really are creating this.
Right.
We brought you the article the other day about Kamala Harris and the rally and everything else, and how in the second paragraph, the first two paragraphs, I think the second paragraph they mentioned reminiscent of the Obama years, something to that effect, and we knew that was coming. And so they're trying to build this euphoria for her that was happening in 2008 with Barack Obama. And that was a very different rise politically. You can say, hey, it was based on nothing. If you knew where the guy stood, then it wasn't about skin color or anything else. It was about his qualifications or lack thereof. And we can have that discussion. But it was a very different type. There was actual euphoria in people's minds. You and I saw it. We lived through it. We covered it repeatedly throughout both of his terms. And that's not in play for her. It's not in play from her own side. I don't buy it when it comes from anyone in the liberal media, because they were not 3 or 4 weeks ago chanting her name. They have not been saying for months, Kamala Harris needs to be the one. She's the one. She's more qualified. She's the rock star of the party. They did not anoint her. Someone anointed her, and they all got in line and said,
Right.
"Oh, okay, I guess we all bought a ticket to the dance because now she's been anointed, and we had no say-so over it."
Well, the discussion, before that Sunday when Biden resigned was, how do we get rid of her
Mm-hmm.
because of our identity politics that we believe in? We can't get rid of her because she's a woman and she's black.
Well, and how many of them were saying, well, it's not going to be Kamala. It's not. They were just absolutely writing it off, saying, well, it won't be Kamala Harris.
Yeah, we played from MSNBC just yesterday, from a month ago, the New York Times reporter on there talking specifically that.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, I can't wait till we get the first email. You guys are pronouncing her name wrong. It's Kamala. It's not Kamaga. When you said that, I went, Kamaga. Oh, that's right, Kamaga. Let's head to your calls. We go to Peter in Chicago. Peter, you're on Red Eye Radio. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You bet.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, speaking to this Kamaga phenomenon, I think that Trump has opened himself up to this because he's not a traditional conservative, and he sort of had to move to the left in order to get to where he's at. And what I mean by that is he had to say, I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare. And I think there's an opportunity for him, believe it or not. And I don't like Trump at all. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I think he should maybe test the idea of Milton Friedman's
okay, you've called before. I remember.
Negative tax.
You've called before and said the exact same thing.
Yeah,
you've called that like a year ago. I remember. I remember that because nobody had that exact same opinion. Trump has always been a moderate, and he's been liberal on many issues before.
Yeah,
it was Trump that initiated the talk on the talk on a wealth tax came from Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Came from Trump's book. What, in 1999?
He talked about single payer.
About
healthcare.
Yep, you talk about a single payer system that we need to look at it. Back in 2016, he's talked about the fact of that we should on the national debt, we should have people. What do they say? Forgive. We should forgive the national, not forgive the national debt. Just pay back cents on a dollar of what's owed. It's like you can't do that.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that he has thrown out before that liberals would have thrown out.
And Medicare and Social Security aren't leftist issues. That's not a liberal mindset in terms of, because if the caller, when he was being screened, mentioned those as entitlements, well, let's be careful. Those are actually true entitlements, not the sense of entitlement.
Right. And the fact is, it's right. The American people wanted, say, the people that are going to collect, those selfish people like me that next year will be collecting.
Right. Exactly. And and Alan and I are trying to stop that.
It's trying to stop me from collecting. No, I mean, you put in specifically for it.
Mm-hmm.
You want it back.
Right.
I mean, and there's a legit complaint. There's legit complaints.
You're being taxed throughout your earnings career.
Right.
And then you reach retirement age. You should expect that you get it if that program is in place. We can talk about all the flaws of the programs, but that's the entire idea. If it's in place and you paid all your life, people expect to get that back. That is not a far left idea.
Trump was talking about tariffs in 1980 on Oprah.
Right.
That's a leftist position. Tariffs have always been a leftist position. And so, you called before. You called about a year ago and said the same thing. And so really, Trump has always been, as we have stated, he's not. And who said that recently? Somebody else said that recently.
Yeah, he's a moderate. That he's a moderate. Somebody else said it.
We talked about it about a week and a half ago. Somebody said, well, Trump's actually always been a moderate. His positions are the moderate positions. The radicals are the Democrats.
Was it Brit Hume?
Can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. But it's what we have been saying for years. He's a moderate. He didn't move to the far left. He's been, in fact, if you want to talk about somebody in American politics who on many, if not most of his issues, he's been consistent where the left is all over the place. Remember the late Harry Reid. We need to build a barrier on the border. That was 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. The Democrats, Kamala Harris now is promoting a secure border.
You mean Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris, sorry.
Kamala Harris.
I almost forgot her name. Those, when you look at those issues that Trump's been talking about on talk shows for ages, over and over and over again, he's been very consistent on those.
But the best thing is, our last caller who said he really doesn't like Trump at all used the term Kamaga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Keep it going. That's all we ask. Kamaga. K-A, capital M, capital A, capital G, capital A.
But don't, again, and I know he doesn't like Trump, so he's trying to say, well, Trump has gone, far left to hopefully dissuade people from voting. Trump has never been a intellectual conservative in a lot of different ways.
Right. Look, we played the audio from The View when he was on The View. It goes back, what did it go back to, 2011?
2011, yeah.
And the left loved him for years until he decided to run as a Republican.
Yeah, they loved him.
He's a moderate.
Who's really gone far left wacko is the Democrats.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Well, except for Kamaga, now that she has embraced the unifying message on the issues of Trump.
This could be the hope and change we've been looking for.
866-90-RED-I.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
The IFTA tax program redistributes tax revenue to states based on your actual miles run. Thus, the truly cheapest fuel can only be found if you subtract federal and state taxes and state surcharges from the pump price to compare. The strategy means that you buy without regard for whether you are paying more at the pump in taxes. IFTA also considers state surcharges, which complicates the fuel buying strategy. Indiana, Kentucky, and Virginia have per gallon surcharges. Connecticut, Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon have per-mile surcharges. While some owner-operators buy only enough fuel to get through surcharge states, this practice can backfire, depending on the actual cost of the fuel in each state. When comparing fuel prices, always remember, pump pride minus taxes equals the real fuel cost. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, to the last caller, this really is the first presidential election I've ever voted in, where it's not the specific issues that is driving me, and we'll get to that next.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. Where can I find my Kamaga merchandise? Trump needs to debut his Kamaga T-shirt at his next rally.
Oh, my gosh. I would love it.
And that's why, look, because you know we like to have fun on the show, but there's a serious thing to it all. And that is whenever you have a campaign, you're looking for something that sticks.
Right.
That's something that sticks. That's something that if Trump said it, if he came out and said, you mean the Kamaga campaign?
Right.
Following, apparently I've united the entire Democratic Party because she's promoting what I promoted for years. It's been the core of what they've hated, and now she's promoting what they hated, and no Democrat is complaining about it. I've united the people through the Kamaga campaign, and so we welcome Kamaga, Harris, and all the Democrats, and we congratulate them for finally coming to their senses. You throw it right back in their face is what you do, and I believe that sticks. That's why the last 24 hours, 22 hours, I've been obsessed with it because I think it's a great point that the campaign could use. It's fun, but it makes such a solid point.
Yeah, that's it. You can't deny that she's gone pro MAGA on the issues.
No, you can't. No.
Pro border security.
Right.
Pro removing the taxes on tips. And when you really break it down the way we've broken it down, you can't really deny. There is no way to deny that she's trying to do what Teixeira and who was the other one?
Douglas Schoen.
And Douglas Schoen were saying back when Biden was running that Biden needs to do.
He needs to be MAGA.
And we laughed then because it was like, then you're just going full on MAGA there. And we've demonstrated that. And it's a very serious point that we're having fun with. And I would love to see President Trump go out at rallies and say, look, we need to call it for what it is. She's embraced the pro-Trump MAGA agenda, and Kamaga Harris is to be commended for that. Because then immediately what happens is the liberal media gets into fact-checking mode. And there's no way around it. Now, I will not discount the possibility of the Harris campaign to come in and say she was president before Trump was. She's stolen everything else. If you're stealing major moves by Donald Trump, then why wouldn't you go full on? But that's it, is that you can't. I could see them trying to break it down either at CNN or MSNBC or something. Well, I mean, if you look at it, he actually did float the idea. We went back, we did some fact checking, and he floated the idea back in December of 2015, and blah 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 blah. And those are the items that I love because, and we've said this on a debate stage, just throw things at the opponent, let the fact checking begin. And when you're using the facts, there's one of two things that can happen. They either do actual fact checking or they have to lie, and the liberal media has to lie, which they will also do. But when they do that, we do our own fact checking on the tail end of that and bring it full circle to show that they're part of the lying.
Yeah, because when you say Kamala Harris is now agrees with the pro-Trump MAGA agenda, and the three things that we brought up is Donald Trump is pro-fracking, Harris campaign agrees.
Right.
Donald Trump is pro-secure border, Harris campaign agrees. Have you seen that commercial they put together where they say she's tougher on the border than Trump?
Yeah.
Donald Trump wants no taxes on tips, Harris campaign agrees. Three major tenets and more, but those are the three major ones we'll bring up right now that are those are MAGA issues that are all on the MAGA agenda, and Kamala Harris agrees with all of them and more. And then that'll drive the left absolutely crazy. Well, they'll have to fact check it, but you can stick with that because it is accurate, and that's why when we by just organic means yesterday came up with it as we were talking about. And it really, I mean, how we got on this was ridiculous in case you just tuned in, because it was based on I was just going through X.
Yeah.
And I saw from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, it said, this is a unity ticket. And it's, and it said opinion, and it said Michelle Obama, Greg Abbott. Michelle Obama for president, Greg Abbott for vice president.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, well, this clickbait's going to work.
Right. Here we go.
So, of course, I clicked it on. I figured it was an editorial from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and I was going to absolutely blast them, and it was from a reader.
Right.
It was readers' opinions who said it, which was, this is a unity ticket because everybody loves her, and they need to be tough on the border, so you make Greg Abbott the vice president, and basically he becomes the border czar. And I'm like, oh, my God. It's like, that's not going to happen. And so we started talking about, well, that's the unity ticket. Well, last time that was tried, the No Labels Party is basically out of business. They've been in business for 13 years now. I think, no, it's 14, since 2010. They could never get a ticket. And we said, you can't get one because you have to unify. And all of a sudden we thought, well, wait a minute. Look at this. Look at how Kamala is moving towards all of the solid Trump positions. In fact, on the border, claims she'll be tougher on the border than Trump is. Well, she's co-opting MAGA.
Yes.
Which is exactly if you pay attention to the show, we talked about the two Democrat operatives, Roy Teixeira, and who writes the website Liberal Patriot, and also Douglas Schoen from thehill.com, a Democratic pollster, who said to Biden about a month and a half, 2 months ago, you got to be more MAGA. They even talked about the fact that the Democrats have to talk about building a wall. Well, this is exactly where Kamala has gone, which, again, it all lays out just perfectly. Kamala. And you just say Kamala Harris. It'll drive the left absolutely nuts if you do that. But it's funny.
Yeah.
But you can make solid, legit, truthful points.
Yep.
And you put everything back on, and this is the thing about a campaign, and it's still there right now, even after Trump was on with Elon Musk, it was fine. Anything that they tried to get him on failed miserably and was wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, they had to deceive in order to try to get you to believe certain things were happening, like Trump was slurring, or Trump and Elon Musk don't take the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They don't take it, as they should, as seriously as they should. When they weren't even talking about that, they were talking about nuclear energy, and we'll get to that audio cut coming up in a little bit. So no, it's that's why we would like to see, because we don't do this.
Right.
If you listen to the show, we don't sit there and say our goal is to get something on X to go viral. We do our heavy lifting. We don't do our heavy lifting on social media.
Right.
We don't get into it. No, number one, we don't have the time. When you work overnights, talk show hosts during the day can have arguments on Twitter because they're on the air and they're going through it.
Right.
You can't do it during the day. We got to sleep. You got to sleep at some time. I even feel guilty sleeping in my second shift because I got to catch up. But if I don't get I've got to catch up to whatever happened normally between 4 or 5 in the afternoon and 10 o'clock at night when a ton of stuff happens. I still feel a little guilty about that, but there's no choice. I got to get my sleep.
Right.
So we've always said, we'll do it for the show. This is an exception because I would like this to get to the campaign so they use it because I think it would be extremely effective and it would drive the left nuts. And they're already nervous right now.
They really are.
That's why I think Maggie Haberman from the New York Times is out there. Oh, Trump doesn't know where to go. Trump doesn't know where to go. Yeah, they do. Campaign's been extremely effective on messaging in their commercials. J.D. Vance, I gave him a 100 for last week. Mm-hmm. He was on every single point, and Trump is doing much better than he did before.
Yep.
Yes, you're still going to hear my nitpicking because I want it to be 100% all the time. But I think what Trump did yesterday was great. I think the Democrats are scared to death because now it's, 3 weeks and how many days? 3 weeks and 3-4 days where she hasn't done anything. And now CNN's constantly asking the operatives from the campaign about it. And they're panicking because they look at it and they go, this didn't work for Biden.
Right.
Why are you doing this?
Right. And that's it. They really are scrambling. Because when you build a facade, every once in a while, the wind's going to blow it down. Every once in a while, you're not going to expect it. All of a sudden, it's going to be on the ground. You get up and, oh, my gosh, what happened? They thought they were going to go all folksy with Tim Walz. We're going to get all Midwesterny on you. Oops. Yeah. About that stolen valor thing. He's in hiding. Keep in mind, what did we say in the first 24 hours? It was clear, and you said it. Not only do they think he can do a lot of the speaking, but she is more confident in him speaking than she is herself speaking, and it was clear. And then when the stolen valor claims, all those started coming out, he's not anywhere. You see him on the campaign trail. He's not talking to the media. They're not able to answer these questions. He is a rolling dumpster fire in tow on her ticket, and there's no way around it because there is no fix for the stolen valor.
You did see, though, where yesterday he came out, and I went, wow. He came out and said, I'm proud of my military career. Well, nobody's criticizing your military career.
Right.
They're criticizing
it's what you claim.
What you claimed afterwards.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. And it's like, and no other soldier should ever criticize another soldier for their career. It's like.
It's about the claims. In fact.
It's about the claims. And
those,
it's like.
Those are the ones that have the most concern about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the ones who will tell you, well, here's what I did in my career. I don't know why somebody, in my military career, I don't know why somebody would lie about that. Oh, because he was running for office? Oh, because he was in office? That's the difference, too. It's not just stolen valor standing around talking to someone in a one-off situation. It's claims that he made when he was running for office and after he got into office. So they see that as using that stolen valor in order to get power. That is a big, big, big deal. I have family and friends who are former or retired military, and a number of them tell me, well, I don't like the fact that like a politician goes and uses their position to go sell books or whatever. And then, and it's like, I know it's part of it, but I really, them getting rich off of what they're doing and being a public servant and everything else. when you get into the stolen valor claims of using that to gain power, that's very, very different. And that's something that is rejected, and you cannot fix it. There's no way to fix it. And he's trying to double down on it by lying about what's going on. You can't.
Yeah, he's still a problem. They can't get. Every single day there's another story.
Every
single day.
Every day.
And you know something? You know why he's getting negative press for CNN? It's a lot of people that want him out by the convention.
He's the rolling dumpster fire that she's connected directly to, and that is a liability. He's a liability on her campaign. There's no way around that.
Wow, you really have to work at that.
You're
the liability for a Kamala Harris. Excuse me, Kamala
Harris
campaign.
Exactly.
you're the drag.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, I never got to address the one caller before. Obviously, was somebody who did not like Trump, and was he said that Trump has moved to the left, and we're like, actually, he hasn't moved much to the left.
Right.
He's always been a moderate, but I did promote the fact that I was going to talk about that this election is different than any election that I've ever voted in. That I'm not voting for specific day-to-day domestic issues.
Right.
We'll tell you what that is coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I just want to bring this up because the story, I think, is like 4 days old. It's the first time I just went back on Google, and after I got through the Kamaga advertisements, I was looking for the story on Tulsi Gabbard and her claim a couple of days ago that she believes she's on the terrorist watch list, the terrorist suspected terrorist watch list. Mm-hmm. And so immediately what I was waiting for is, okay, there's a former congresswoman. She's well known. She's a national celebrity, right? Yep. That the TSA would respond immediately to this, right?
Right.
So I was waiting for that. And from what I can see, it never came. Now local Hawaii news is covering it. Some Hawaii lawmakers are calling on the director of the Transportation Security Administration for answers to why former state congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is included on a suspected terrorist watch list. They go through all these representatives that sent a joint letter to the TSA director on Sunday. Okay, we're now on Wednesday. Yeah. In the letter, Hawaii representatives accuse the TSA of including Gabbard on the Quiet Skies program watch list without explanation. They also claim air marshals have harassed Gabbard and her husband on multiple flights. Sir, please remember this is the United States of America, and you have not even stated why such a dastardly label has been attached to and besmirched her good name, the group wrote, in part in a letter to the head of the TSA. As members of the Hawaii State House of Representatives listed below, we strongly urge you to immediately withdraw her name from the Quiet Skies program and or provide full public transparency of the TSA's reasons for maligning her name and reputation. In an interview on Fox News, Tulsi Gabbard said that everything changed on July 23rd, the day she was reportedly added to the watch list. I was subjected by very in-depth screening when I travel. By in-depth, I mean 30 to 45 minutes going through that screening every time I would go to the airport to fly. The deepest pain and harm and stress that has been caused by all of this is that forever going forward, I will always be looking over my shoulder, wondering how my government is surveilling me. The Island News, which is a TV station, KITV, in Hawaii, reached out to the TSA for comment. A spokesperson sent the following statement. TSA uses multi-layered security processes to protect the nation's transportation systems to ensure freedom of movement for people and commerce. TSA's Quiet Skies program uses a risk-based approach to identify passengers and apply enhanced security measures on some domestic and outbound international flights to safeguard sensitive national security measures. The TSA does not confirm or deny any individual has matched to a risk-based rule. These rules are applied to a limited number of travelers for a limited period of time. Simply matching to a risk-based rule does not constitute derogatory information about the individual. What the hell? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it does.
Are you absolutely kidding me? You're not going to answer? She's a former congresswoman.
Right.
She's a former presidential candidate.
Right. From a very blue state.
From a very blue state who is now attacking Democrats. Look, I don't put it beyond any. When you see, and this is what I wanted to get into because we had a caller last hour. Obviously was not a Trump fan. He had called before, a year ago, with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went, wait a minute, I remember this call. This is like deja vu from a year ago. And he was like, well, Trump's gone too far left. Well, Trump's always been a moderate. Most of the positions that he's held for a very, very long time. And some of them are viewed as left. Traditionally, they've been viewed as left. And I, after we talked to him, I said, I want to explain that this is the first election where I'm not voting for the day-to-day issues. This is an issue based on what we have seen from lawfare in this country, from what we have seen with, and you see it still now, with the Democrats wanting to censor and get rid of free speech. You see it with just the whole Elon Musk thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's disinformation. And when you're a free speech person, like we are, it's like, well, yeah, you're going to find it. I find disinformation.
Yeah, right.
Sure, I find it. By the way, the biggest misinformation you get is from the Biden administration, as we know. That's the biggest. They lie about everything. It's, gaslighting. Everybody knows it.
Right.
And so there's always misinformation.
Right.
But Elon Musk has made it more of a free speech place to go.
Exactly.
So you're going to have to do your homework. There's going to be misinformation. There's going to be truth. You said it, though, last hour or the hour before. Even with everything that's going on, it's never been easier to find the truth. You got your phone right there. You can find it.
Everything changes because you're bombarded. You really can't get away from it. If you have a smartphone, you kind of now have to work to get away from it. I do have friends, a few friends, that go out of their way and they don't engage, but they still know. The stories are still reaching them. They just don't engage like a lot of people do, like maybe members of our audience would. And you can't really change that. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. That's already happening. That's changing sensibilities. It's changing what people are aware of, how much they care about it, how much they do engage or not is down to the individual, but it's changing sensibilities, no doubt.
When I see what the FBI was involved in and the Hillary campaign in the Russia collusion hoax, when I see the propaganda and when I see the culture and the conspiracy that you saw in the 51 intelligence officials with the Hunter Biden laptop story, the election interference that they were involved with, and the censoring that they tried to put on social media, when I see the erosion of free speech rights. This is the first election I voted in where the main reason I'm voting is not for the day-to-day issues. As I said, when Trump gets elected, we're probably going to have disagreements with him, especially on economic things, where we disagree with where the Republican Party is going. But right now, that takes a back seat.
Oh, yeah.
That takes a back seat to the authoritarian narrative, which is gaining hold, the authoritarian narrative, the racism of identity politics, the insanity of the radical transgender movement, the
lawfare,
the lawfare, the not caring about the border, aiding our enemies to fight against us.
This is why the Tulsi Gabbard story is really unreal, and this whole idea of, that doesn't really say anything if we put her on the terrorist watch list. Yeah, it does.
And then they're like, well, but we're not going to tell you whether or not because of security, but it really doesn't. If she was on the list, it's nothing derogatory at all. To hell it isn't.
Of course it is.
Who believes that who believes that BS?
It's complete BS.
As she said, she responded to Island News. This is clearly an act of political retaliation. It's no accident that I was placed on the Quiet Skies list the day after I did a primetime interview warning the American people of how and why Kamala Harris would be bad for our country if elected president and commander-in-chief. What hurts me the most is the fact that, like so many Americans I had listed because of the terrorist attack on 9/11, deployed in war zones to go after those terrorists, still serve in the U.S. Army for over 21 years now, and now my government is surveilling me as a potential domestic terrorist. The real pain this has caused is the stress, forever looking over my shoulder, wondering if and how I am being watched, what secret terror list I am on, and having no transparency or due process. It's not just about me. Every American has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They have taken that away from me and my family. Wow.
It is retaliatory intimidation.
Well, yeah, it sends a message to anybody. It sends a message if you're going to go against the Democrats.
We're going to make your life impossible.
And the fact is, in this case, you need to answer that question.
Right.
You need to answer whether she is or not and explain to the American people why a former presidential candidate, former congresswoman, and now somebody who has become a national celebrity.
Right. I mean, she's been on Rogan a number of times.
And political pundit. Yeah. Well, she's been on everywhere.
Fox
she's been on Fox. Anyone that will have her. I mean, she's been all the national news out there. She has a presence everywhere and is part of the the arena of political ideas out there. To put her on and say, well, we're not going to tell you we're not. Yet every time she travels, she has to wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes to get through as she's checked over and over and over again.
Right.
You know, when she again is no threat at all, and then to say to be on the terrorist watch list is not derogatory in any way.
Right.
I mean, that's the kind of BS speak that you've gotten from this administration.
You know, it's and here's a problem too. That another problem I have with it is does she live in California now, or is she still living in Hawaii?
I don't know.
I'm not sure of that. But if she is living in Hawaii, you have to travel by air.
Oh yeah.
You live in the lower 48, and, you might have a point of, well, you can just hop in the car. By the way, it shouldn't come to that. But the point is that you put that kind of intimidating, retaliatory measure in place because you know it's especially going to be troublesome and cumbersome for anybody living in Hawaii because of how often they fly.
This from Hawaii News Now. The Air Marshal National Council says whistleblowers told them that Tulsi Gabbard is included in the Quiet Skies program, which monitors elevated risks to aviation security. Reports say at least 5 agents and 2 explosive detection canine teams were following Gabbard and her husband last month. Wow. Their joint statement said in part, the people of Hawaii love Tulsi, and your actions have offended us for your attempt to ruin her reputation without explanation. Again, as leaders in the state of Hawaii, we remind you this is not China or Russia, and our government is not to overstep the boundaries that have been set by our U.S. Constitution and should never attempt to weaponize its regulatory powers. And this gets back to everything, the weaponization of government.
Yep.
You have embarrassed the state of Hawaii in our eyes, and we plead with you to clarify this without hesitation. The TSA has not responded for a request for comment. We saw that one earlier. This was from a day and a half ago when this came out. So this would have been Monday night. Yep.
Look, we've seen it before. We'll make your life especially hard.
Sorry, with somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, you got to tell us why you have her on the list.
Exactly.
If she's on the list or not, and why.
Right.
Other people, maybe not. Her, you have to.
If she's a real threat, the American people need to know that. That's and you're not going to be able to back that up, which is why they're not talking about it. They're not talking about it because they know this is bogus. They know this is intimidation. They know this is about retaliation. You intimidate them to the point, and again, if you live in Hawaii, you're flying a lot. You're flying a lot. This is adding something so cumbersome. You just won't. It's literally this type of intimidation and retaliation. You just won't be able to move. And that, to me, is mind-boggling of how that could be in place against a former lawmaker. That is mind-boggling.
It is. But we've seen it.
Yep.
Again,
Yep.
The FBI, remember the whistleblowers? We were in the parking lot taking down license plates of parents who were concerned about the radical transgender movement and boys in girls' restrooms where sexual assaults took place from those claiming that they were transgender.
Yep.
So we know the bureaucracy will do it.
We said it with Trump, if the whole Russian hoax thing. If they'll do that with Trump, they'll do it with anybody. They'll do it with parents, anybody that gets in their way. That comes straight from the top. That comes straight from the top. And I don't know what the solution here is, but there needs to be a very thorough investigation as to how something like this happens.
Congress needs to get involved and find out whether this is true or not and get an explanation from them.
Yep. That needs to happen.
And I haven't seen that yet where Jim Jordan, they're on vacation, aren't they?
Yeah, they're on the August break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to get involved in this right away.
Yep. Get on this.
And this
because, I mean, by then, think about this, and this is the way it happens. Well, we're not going to talk about who was on the list and who is on the list. We can tell you that right now she's not on the list because, then they just quietly take her off the list. That doesn't negate everything that has happened if everything she's reporting is accurate and true. If what we're hearing is accurate and true, you can't get away with that and just go, oh, well, no, that's we're not going to talk about the past. We can't. This is what we hear from people like Director Wray. This is what we hear from people at the head of this administration. Oh, well, we can't talk about that. You better.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so you see the whole, Tulsi Gabbard thing, if that is true that she's on the terrorist watch list and there's no explanation for it, that's part of the reason that I will vote for the Trump-Vance ticket. That's why. It's much bigger than any day-to-day issue. This is the first election where I haven't voted for the day-to-day issues out there. It's against the lawfare that's happening. It's against the censorship that Democrats believe in now. It's against the Democrats mainstreaming anti-Semitism, the identity politics of racism that they fully endorse, that has now been mainstreamed and institutionalized. Their push against the First Amendment, their push against freedom of speech, their push against freedom of religion, their push against the Second Amendment, their push against major tenets of the Constitution of the United States. That's why I'm voting for Trump and Vance. This is not because I agree with the Republicans on I don't agree with the Democrats on anything. Well, except for, Kamaga's, newfound, viewpoint on some of the issues out there, right?
Right.
By the way, just a few people saying, well, if she believes in the same thing as Trump, then she doesn't need to run. Well, that's because she doesn't. It's a lie.
Exactly.
You're a threat to democracy if you don't download our app, Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, we want to play this here from CNN. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is Dana Bash here, and this is on the Elon Musk-Trump interview that they did. Did you see that? Harris wants equal time on that Kamaga wants equal time on X.
Yeah.
Well, I've invited you, and she's calling
he
it
actually put that out there.
She's calling it an in-kind contribution.
Right.
In-kind, basically campaign contribution. It's like, no, I've invited you on. I'll give you
made
equal
it very
time.
clear.
Yeah. You want equal time, you get it.
Right.
It's like, what do you want? You don't want to come on. You don't want to do interviews.
Right.
I'm doing interviews.
You just want 2 hours of time.
Right.
You'll get exactly what he got.
Right. I'll give you exactly what I gave him.
Yep.
It's like, wow, just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But they got into a discussion, and we're going to play how she phrased it and then play you the entire context of it. They got into a discussion on nuclear energy. And then they got into the whole concept of fallout from nuclear energy and how long it lasts.
Yeah.
And they talked about, for example, Chernobyl. And then they got into talking about the atomic bombs dropped on Japan, where initially it was said you're not going to be able to go back there. You remember 1,000 years or 2,000 years, and now their cities and everything is fine there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she, as you can see, took it as if they didn't take nuclear war seriously, which is not the context at all. Let's play it. Here we go. Here's what she had to say first. Then we'll play the full context next. Here we go.
I want to play one exchange that was kind of classic. Well, there were a lot of exchanges that were classic Donald Trump, but this one really stuck out to us.
And Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're full cities again. So it's really not something that So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
So that's it.
Right.
She took about a 5-second clip.
Right.
Right? Okay, let's hear the conversation. Here we go.
Was more Elon Musk than Donald Trump, talking about sort of suggesting that what happened almost 80 years ago, I think 80 years ago next year, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, now it's okay. Kind of trying to blow off the impact of that.
Now, is that what actually happened?
No. Nope.
That's not. In fact, hang on one second here because I've lost my... that is not what happened. That's not what they. That is not what they were talking about. Here, give me a second here to get back to that. Here, I had a. I clicked a window and it went off completely. So hang on, we'll get to it here. But it's reprehensible because Dana Bash knows that. She absolutely knows what she was doing there.
Right.
Because here's the full context of it now. Here we go.
All right.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. Right. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that,
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is it's a rough name. There are some areas like when you see what happened in
bad branding.
Right, we'll have to rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No, that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not something that
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think. Basically.
So what are they talking about? That nuclear war isn't bad, or talking about fallout? By the way, you could hear with the Trump voice what they're calling the lisp hoax, because they actually played him talking on the phone to him, and it's perfectly fine. That was a problem with the digital feed.
It's there's a noise gate on microphones and also in digital feeds that will change that, and that's what you heard there. And they did as you mentioned, the comparison. You and I are used to it, doing this for decades. We've heard that before, but you look at what they were talking about. They're talking about the risk, really. The ultimate NIMBY effect is what Elon Musk was talking about, regulation, but the regulation comes from people saying, well, not in my backyard. That's what the acronym NIMBY stands for those that don't know. I don't know if the kids are still using the NIMBY, but it's something that we've been talking about for a long, long time, and it is the reason you can't get nuclear done. You can have people talk about it and go, yeah, it's safe, but, and then they put their hands out and they want to keep it at a distance, and that's the NIMBY effect. And so you get into okay, is it safe? Is it okay? And that's what they were talking about. The risk factors regarding nuclear energy. And Elon Musk and Fukushima. Remember when that happened with Fukushima? It was really nightmarish. That entire thing with that tsunami. There's the videos still very just like with everything on YouTube, most everything, it stays up there forever. And you go back and you look at that, just the tsunami effect alone and the damage. But then beyond that, the concern during that time, Fukushima, and how that played out, because you look at the 3 Mile Island, you look at everything else, Chernobyl, and all of these other things, these events that have happened, which really is still today the driver of the NIMBY.
Right, but the point of this one is not to have a discussion on how long fallout lasts. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that Dana Bash and CNN purposely edited to take out of complete context what they were talking about, mm-hmm. which why the audio cut was so short. I'm very sensitive to that because I've talked about this, goes back, 30 years when I was on Nightline. And there was an issue going on in New York State, that I disagreed with the liberal media on. They interviewed me for 2.5 hours. They took 4 seconds and took me completely out of context. Mm-hmm. So I realized at that day, never again. I'm a radio guy. Will never again do any type of taped broadcast with any national media where they have the ability to edit it, where they put it in a story and do it. And I haven't. If it's a live show, I'll consider it. But now that you have the left asking, the questions, we would never get to what my answer is because I'd be objecting to their questions. Mm-hmm. But that's what happened. That's what happened here. They took completely out of context a conversation that was based on nuclear energy. How safe is it? What have we been told about it? How long does fallout last? Where it's a danger area. And they brought up the 2 Japanese cities because they were bombed by nuclear weapons and are now inhabited today with nobody talking about any type of safety concerns for decades upon decades upon decades. CNN and Dana Bash knew what they were doing. They took something that was about energy and made it seem like Elon Musk and Donald Trump didn't see the horrors of nuclear power as a weapon. Just reprehensible. That's how desperate they are. But it goes back to, and I wonder if she's going to be forced to apologize for that. If I was her boss, she's fired.
Yeah.
She's fired for that.
Right. You're making false claims.
And this is where we've talked about the fact that the left, that wasn't a debate. If you wish to have a debate on fallout, go ahead, bring the scientist in.
Or a debate on whether we should have dropped the bomb or whatever. Any of that. If you want to have a debate on something, that's one thing.
Right,
that
right.
wasn't the debate.
But in the context of their conversation, it was about energy. Mm-hmm. So if you want to talk about fallout and energy and the safety of nuclear power, go ahead, have that debate. Mm-hmm. But they didn't do that. They took something that wasn't being discussed and demonized Trump and Elon Musk as if they didn't care about nuclear war, where that wasn't the context. You're fired if I'm your boss. You're gone for that. But it shows you that they don't care about the truth. And you and I have talked about how talk radio has changed, since we've been in way over, 3 decades. And it's changed in the fact that we don't actually debate issues anymore. That's a perfect example. We debate what the truth is. And you can see how the left purposely, Dana Bash purposely, on purpose, lied about what they were talking about in order to make Donald Trump and Elon Musk seem like these uncaring, evil people where nuclear war is okay and there's no big deal, no big problem to it whatsoever. Absolutely reprehensible.
Yeah, it's she's more likely in my opinion, more likely to get a bonus for doing what she did than get her walking papers. That's just the management at CNN clearly loves that. And you wonder why you have very few viewers these days. You wonder why people are turning away. You wonder why an audience laughs at Stephen Colbert trying to make a point that you're not biased.
Yeah.
It's laughable from your own side.
And that's great. I'm glad you brought Colbert back into it, that we started the show with, because it shows not just how biased they are, but how they will manipulate.
How determined they are as activists.
How determined they are to manipulate the truth.
Yes. It is full on. They are right back to where they were in 2008 and then some. And I would say this is even greater, I would say more widespread, effectively more widespread than the Russian hoax in 2016. That continued through Trump's first term and still lives to some extent today, even though, of course, proven to be false. They don't care about the truth.
Nope.
It doesn't matter to Dana Bash. I will lie. It's, as you brought it up just the other day, and we talked about it back then. It was a big deal when we covered it. The late Ed Schultz. Democrats, you need to do anything and everything to win. Lie, cheat, steal, whatever, to win. Wow. They took that football, and, man, they're scoring over and over and over and over. And they're not going to change.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just saw this here from, this is the, hang on one second here, make sure I have it correct. This is the executive director of Students for Trump, who put out there 77% of the viewing audience for the Trump x Elon space were age 34 and under. 77%.
Interesting. Man, I'd love to be able to poll that audience, that specific audience, if there was a way to poll them, especially that 77%, and ask them, good, bad, in between, what stuck with you? Was it a positive? Did it change your mind at all? Did it move the needle at all? Man, I'd love to know.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He is Eric Harley. Good morning. Talking about CNN and Dana Bash lying by taking completely out of context a conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump during their very long interview, and it was fine. It was just long, but it's fine. It's like a podcast. Podcast can be long. Right?
Yeah.
So very podcast sounding, was it not?
Yeah, I thought so.
Right. But she lied. She played a short clip that gave the impression that both Elon Musk and Donald Trump didn't think that nuclear war was serious. where they were actually talking about nuclear energy. They weren't talking about nuclear war. Took them completely out of context. She knows she lied. They know she lied. The management at CNN knows she lied. The producers know that she lied about it because they're all in on it.
Right.
Because anything that you do is, before the show begins, it's like, okay, where are we going to go today? What's the audio going to be? What's the entire plan? So they knew that they were going to lie. It was a perfect example of what we call the propaganda political activists in the media. They are not reporters. They don't wish to be reporters. They are propaganda political activists.
Yep.
So, 2 articles yesterday. Well, one a post on X. Former White House spokesperson Ari Fleischer.
Yep.
Republican.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep. All right.
The American people haven't changed much over the last 20 years, but the press has. The press used to hold powerful people to account. Now their calling is to defeat Trump, which means they prop up Harris, a candidate who shuns them, has changed almost all of her positions, and is not capable of speaking without a strict script. One of our reasons our country is divided is because the press takes sides and has preferences. They are not society's neutral, truth tellers. That's why most reporters are drooling over Kamala and doing everything in their power to boost her. If and when she does take questions, they'll mostly be softballs and silly horse race questions. Republicans have to work twice as hard as Democrats to win. Republicans have to defeat their opponents and overcome a hostile media. The failure of the press to do its job is one of the biggest issues of our time. Again, Mr. Fleischer, how many times are we going to have to say this? Because we've been saying this, 10 years or longer?
Yeah.
They are not failing to do their job. They're doing their job.
They're activists.
For some reason, Republicans in the media are idiots. And Ari Fleischer seems like a nice guy. Not a big guy, but a nice guy and everything else. But you're an idiot. They're not reporters. They're propaganda political activists. They don't care if they get anything wrong. There's no shame. They don't sit there and go, oh, doggone it. Now I need to reconsider because I've been embarrassed, because I've been exposed. They go, nope, next.
Yep.
They don't care. Then I'm not even done with that because I like Ari Fleischer. I like Jim Garrity of National Review. He has a column. The media have forgotten why they exist. The media has not forgotten why they exist. Because they believe they exist to be propaganda political activists. They're not reporters. And then he writes here, the headline, the media think their job is to sell Democratic candidates, not hold them accountable. That's because their job is to sell the Democrat candidates. It's not to hold them accountable. When are Republicans going to wake up and stop this? You and I go back to, the Mueller report. So when did that come out? When did the Mueller report come out? 2018? 2019?
Was it 2019?
2019? We were freaking out back then. Well, we hope that the media now has learned that they've been fooled, and the media didn't care. They went right on to the next thing because they're not reporters. Their job is not to be neutral and tell you the stories.
They get caught lying every day. They don't change what they're doing.
No, they don't. They are not reporters. Republicans, stop doing this. You sound like you're a bunch of idiots who aren't paying attention. You seem like you're in your own bubble of, we're all in this, and so we're all reporters. No, you're not all reporters. Their job is being a propaganda political activist who will lie, who will do whatever. And if they are found to be wrong, as they are many times, does anybody really ever get fired? Once in a while they do, but they end up back again Chris Cuomo back again, right?
Yep.
Didn't matter about everything that went on with his brother. The only thing that'll get you kicked out is things like HR stuff, sexual harassment.
Right.
Which, by the way, should get you kicked out.
Right.
But
but you can lie, and that doesn't get you kicked out.
And the reason is that's in your job description.
Yep.
Everyone knows that's what your job is. You're not a reporter. You're a propaganda political activist. You're a leftist propaganda political activist.
Yep.
But my God, I mean, it's just over and over again. It gets to be so frustrating. Republicans walk around and go, well, what's going on? Oh, they're supposed to be reporters. Stop it.
We've got a handful of journalists out there, actual journalists, and I mean a handful. We talk about people like Barry Weiss, but you look at the organizations that
Catherine Herridge, I can
Catherine Herridge, a number of them. There are actual journalists out there, but they are few and far between. They really do stand out, by the way. For us, they stand out.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But for the left, they're a nuisance. And you look at the organizations that they used to work for. Look what Catherine Herridge went through when she was let go at CBS. Seriously, what the hell, man? You know, this is the kind of thing that the left sees as okay.
Yeah.
They in fact, it's not just okay. It is expected, appreciated, applauded, and rewarded at every turn. At every turn.
And I want to say this. I like Ari Fleischer, and I really like to read Jim Garrity. I don't always agree with him, but I like it because he makes you think. But this is just so frustrating because you do seem like you're an idiot who's not paying attention to anything that's going on day in and day out, week in and week out, year in and year out, decades go by, and it's obvious they're not reporters. They're leftist propaganda political activists, and you keep saying you wish that they were reporters, or you keep saying they're not doing their job.
No, their job is very clear, and they're doing it.
They're doing exactly what their job is supposed to be, which is that's why there's no shame. That's why they lie, and they're back on the air the next day. Well, okay, we got this thing wrong, but we move. You didn't get it wrong. You lied about it. It was calculated.
Right.
And it just gets frustrating for me. I'm like, ugh, yeah.
Yeah, it is, well, because you have to get straight to the point. You really have to call them for what they are and define them clearly. On the upside, few people put their trust in these so-called reporters, these activists in liberal newsrooms. There are a few people that put their trust in them. The people that think about this, the people that put the most trust in them are trusting them to be activists, not journalists. And the American public more and more rejects that kind of approach. The left embraces it. But there was a reason Colbert got laughter when he tried to position them as non-biased. There's a reason that happened from his very liberal audience. Even they couldn't hold their laughter in.
That may be the audio cut of the day.
Yeah. I mean, it's because it really does define where we are. The liberal activists right there that were on camera and the liberals in the audience who are loyal, but I'm sorry, what? That was how they responded. They laughed because they know. So what does it tell you? Now, they're not outraged, which means it's acceptable to them. We don't hear outrage from the left going, they really have to stop this. They really have to change their ways. No, typically what will happen is, and it's not people on the far left wants them to keep doing their activism, but people, everyday people that just watch this play out, whether it's on TV or digital, they look at this and they just turn it off. They just leave. The audiences are shrinking for a reason. But then again, you still have a growing audience there, or I don't know if it's growing, but it's for what it is by comparison within their field. MSNBC still has an audience, enough people that tune in. By comparison to the general population, it's a drop in the bucket, but you still have people tune in for it because they expect that kind of activism. It's not about journalism at all. It isn't. Journalism, and I've said this millions of times, probably trillions of times. I don't want to understand. I don't want to falsely understate it. Trillions of times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The role of true journalism in a free society is critical. Those that are willing to actually seek the truth, find the truth, demonstrate clearly, and this is where that responsibility comes in, you have to demonstrate clearly that this is what happened or this is what's going on. That is critical in a free society. But once they learned decades ago, we can change the hearts and minds. We have the power to shape hearts and minds. We have the power to shape elections. And now to the point of it's not even bias. My gosh, that goes back to the 70s. Bias isn't even the word. It's activism. This is why we use that word, because you've got to go out of your way. You've got to build a plan. You've got to say, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be our work product here that we're going to present as the truth. When it's anything but the truth, and you know it from the beginning, you're going to have to shape a lie and make it look like the truth.
Well, you know something, that one of the reasons that they're scared to death of Elon Musk now on X is because of what is now being called citizen journalism, which is the fact-checking that they're doing.
Yep.
When somebody writes something, it's like, nope, this isn't it. This is what you will find that is more accurate if you read the observations on the citizen journalism fact-checking on X. I'd put them up against any major media outlet out there to say this is where you'll find more accuracy. Now, we know that on X there's misinformation. We know. I see people involved in it all the time that even hold my opinions, and I hate when I see it because it's not needed. People that are conservative or have conservative values don't need to lie on any issue or exaggerate anything. But as we know, when there's the ability of 340 million people to get on social media, you're going to have people that hold your same opinions that have no problem lying because they believe it can be more expedient in getting their narrative out there.
Right.
It's not, it always hurts. But the fact is, you can, as I said, you got your smartphone with you. You can find out what the truth is on almost any topic within a minute.
Yeah. It's what we've been saying. The ability to find it is there. It's whether or not people are willful.
And believe me, the left does not want to take X away from Elon Musk because of misinformation.
Yeah.
The reason that the left wishes to get rid of free speech and wishes to censor is because they are the biggest purveyors of misinformation, and to them, the enemy is the truth.
Yep.
And that's why.
Right. The truth defeats them every time.
I have no interest in giving my opinion on something that's false.
Right.
It's a waste of my time. Why would I do that?
Right.
It's not productive.
No, goes nowhere.
It doesn't, Well, Gary, I really agree on your opinion, but what you were talking about never happened.
Right.
Well, I'm sort of wasting my time. I don't like to waste my time.
It's like a child's tea party. One of my young granddaughters years ago comes to me and says, we're having a tea party. I said, there's nothing in the cup. Go fill it up. Go fill it up.
I might not have necessarily used that as an example.
Well, it's what they're doing. Sorry. It's a tough room when I'm the grandfather.
I'm going to say
go fill that teacup up.
How mean you are.
What are you doing? I don't drink imaginary tea or imaginary Kool-Aid, Cupcake.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Something that we have talked about for the longest time here on Red Eye Radio is private sector union members and how much they've disagreed with the people that they actually pay their hard-earned money to in dues to represent interests they don't believe in.
Right.
And Frank Luntz was on CNN yesterday talking about the fact that he's never seen this. He's never seen so many union members backing Trump. We'll have this coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. You know, as you and I sit here, we in 2024, we look at everything that we have been discussing for 3 to 4 decades on the radio as talk show host and political analyst, because that's what we do. And we've often said that the biggest challenge that Democrats face is not Republicans, but reality. And we've talked about the reality of inflation. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But something that you and I have harped on for years is that union leadership has not been representing the union members.
Right. Yeah.
That they have worked against and they on the core issues of things that had to do with union member security. They've just completely abandoned. They've betrayed, as we have said, the union leadership in this country outside of government. We're talking the private unions have absolutely betrayed the union worker. We've said this about Sean Fain, to the point where somebody who was close to him actually called the show about 6 months ago. And after that, we got a bunch of UAW workers going, no, you guys are right.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder where it's going in this election. Here's Frank Luntz, the pollster on CNN yesterday. Listen to this. Here we go.
But I assure you that Donald Trump is doing better among the average union member, not teachers' unions and not the unions for government, but everybody else, the trades, the people who work with their hands. He's doing better among them than any Republican has done in decades. This is not going to be a problem for him. The union leadership is more divided from their membership, and the louder that it gets, the greater the divides are going to come. And in my focus groups, and this is remarkable to me, the union membership says they don't speak for me. And I've been doing this now since I hate to say this, 89, 1990. I've never had union people publicly say they don't speak for me.
Wow.
That's interesting.
We've been hearing it for a while.
We get that feedback. Because we've been asking the question for a long time, what is it like? How do you feel that your hard-earned dues are going to a political agenda that you don't actually support? And because we're wondering, well, where is the change then? How do you change that? Starting with union leadership, what do you do about union leaders that clearly go against your best interest and use your hard-earned dues to do it? That, to me, is a conundrum that again, I'm clearly missing something because it continues today.
Well,
there's something about it that I don't know, but I'm completely boggled by it, and we have been for years. It happens all the time. It's been happening. It goes back to when the Obama administration was suing then Governor Jan Brewer of Arizona on illegal immigration, and the unions sided with the Obama administration.
Yep.
Wow.
You and I go
us.
back to Harry Reid. Remember saying there are no illegals working on any construction site in Nevada.
There are absolutely no illegals working on construction sites in Nevada.
And then they went to the local union leaders, construction leaders, said, what are you talking about? They're all over the place.
Right.
We've been complaining about it, but at the same time, the national union leadership was pro-illegal immigration.
Right.
And I think that I think that it's been a drip effect. I think when you had, because you look at, what has made this major change that Frank Luntz is just noticing right now. We knew this was eventually going to come because it's all part of what we have stated, that liberalism's biggest challenge and biggest enemy is not the Republican Party, it's the reality of economics. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing the reality of well, in the union case, this is the reality of economics is what you're seeing. And so when you had, and we had stated this over and over again, when you saw that Biden canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, and he said he did it because of climate change. And we said, well, that's ridiculous. What are you talking about? Because even if you believe in climate change and then your goal is to get rid of fossil fuels, you're not getting rid of fossil fuels. You just have to transport them in a way that by the Democrat standard and the liberal standard will increase global warming.
Right.
And global warming gases into the atmosphere by the Democrats' narrative. So it made no sense. So tens of thousands of great union jobs were just eliminated. And then the president said, oh, learn to code. Like, just go find another job.
Yep.
And you and I always looked back at that and said, whoa. Then you had you had the energy czar. Wait a minute. He wasn't officially a czar. I'm sorry. Excuse me. You had the climate czar.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't officially a czar. Was the czar in his name? Are we going to have that debate again? You had the energy czar, the climate czar, John Kerry.
Mm-hmm.
You had the transportation czar, secretary. You had the energy czar,
the bicycle riding transportation czar.
Right. All of them said, well, he's actually not doing what he should be doing. He should want the Keystone XL pipeline. So it showed right there. They didn't care about union jobs. They killed tens of thousands of union jobs for nothing, and still the union leadership didn't speak loudly. You had some of the union leaders of those projects spoke out about it.
Yeah.
But you didn't have the big union leaders go and say, this needs to stop with the Democrat Party. And then I think that the final thing, the final act of the union leadership was to go along with the BS of the Biden administration and the discussion that, EVs are going to create all these tens of thousands, millions of green new union jobs.
Right.
And it was a load of horse manure.
It was total garbage.
And we just, Stellantis just last week, another 2,000 jobs gone. And union members figured out, wow, something's wrong here. Why is our union leadership agreeing that we should produce electric vehicles? Well, the same reason they agreed with illegal immigration. They're on the far left. They don't give a damn about you, the union worker. Nope. And it's galling because you go, well, they've got to. We're paying them our dues. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't
Look,
care.
they acknowledged it. A great number of our members will be voting for the other side.
Yeah.
But we're still going to support Democrats.
Yep, Sean Fain. They betrayed the union leadership.
By the way, I think that's also something that is different. We said it then when Fain was on, I don't know, was he on Cavuto? Or I forget which Fox News he was on. It was a Fox News show where he said it. And that was something that was also new. We've been hearing it from members for a while.
Oh, yeah.
But for leadership to come out and say
that blew us away.
A great number of our members are going to be voting completely opposite of what we're doing with their union dues. We were like, whoa.
Well, the union leadership was going along with the lies from the Biden administration that producing electric vehicles was going to create millions of more green new jobs.
Right.
And anybody who pays any attention knows that it takes fewer workers to produce an electric vehicle than a regular vehicle.
Yep.
And then you got to the absurd point where, because of the subsidies in the, which bill was it? The subsidies in one of the bills that they passed, that the Democrats got passed, that was handing out even more subsidies to the automobile companies for producing electric vehicles that they still couldn't make money on with the new subsidies.
Yeah.
The union leadership was saying, well, doggone it, we need subsidies too, so our union workers can produce the electric vehicles that Americans don't want, Americans can't afford, and the car companies can't make a profit on. And the union members went, well, what the hell's going on here?
Right.
This doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't matter to the union leaders.
Nope.
Doesn't matter to them.
Nope. It does not.
And that's why it was easy to figure out the betrayal of the union leadership.
Yep.
And we used to, when we started talking about this, had to be with illegal immigration. We had, some union members call and agree with us, but we were called everything from we were called anti-union on a consistent basis. And I said, look, I used to be a member of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, and I was a United Steelworker.
Yeah.
And so I know how unions, won. As I said before, when I was part of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, we were a small local, so we didn't have a business manager. And the guys in the shop, it was probably about 100 workers, didn't trust the business manager.
Right.
They asked me to look at the because I had a college degree. Could you look at it and see if you think it's okay? Because we don't trust the business manager. I looked at it and said, well, go ahead, sign it. Great deal. I'll never forget, 9% increase the first year. It's going to be, guys are going to love this contract. I won't be with you because I have low seniority. They'll lay me off.
Right.
And I got laid off within like 3 months.
Right.
Of doing it. That's the reality. It was a great job, but that economics. I still, at that young age, understood economics.
Yep.
You raise it, somebody's going to get blown out.
Yep.
And so, it was easy to see. It was easy for me to see the betrayal of the union leadership. And there's nothing more galling because I've been there. I've been a union member that you don't trust your national leadership.
Right.
You don't trust them to make the right deal for you.
Right.
And you're paying them money. It's like us having an agent and the agent is working against our best interest.
Right. Exactly.
All right, guys, I'm going to put you in a deal where, okay, you make a little money, but your job's going to be gone in a year.
Right.
Well, I want long-term security here.
Right. We're going to put you on Air America.
I'm glad to see you found something that was comparable.
Basically would be it. Right there.
Exactly. It would be. It's like
it's almost exactly that version. It's the radio version.
Well, the whole thing with you take illegal immigrants and the whole EV BS that they were trying to sell their workers. You're right. It is like our agent, Paul. We're not going on any liberal network.
It's not happening.
No, that was a great analogy. That was perfect. I mean, that would be like, and then him trying to defend it.
Yeah, right.
No, guys, it's great. It's great.
It's great. It's going to be the greatest 8 months of your career.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, union workers aren't idiots. They figured out that, as most people do, because of the whole climate change hysteria, that the government now is regulating us out of business. And the government's telling us, well, look, our company's going to get subsidies, but you still can't make a profit doing this. They're telling us they're telling us we can succeed with it. It's impossible. You can look at the business model. We all know electric vehicles aren't going to make companies a profit. They're not.
Right.
And for the reasons we've told you. They want to phase out. The goal is to phase out, the automobiles that make them profits.
Mm-hmm.
The lie that more people, millions of new jobs would be created when you're actually going to have a net loss of jobs as they're seen now. This wasn't hard to figure out.
Right.
And so you look at it and you go, not only was our union leadership lying to us, they're betraying us because this isn't hard to figure out.
Right. It's been out there for years, and more members are coming around.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.